Be sure to check out our sponsor, the War for the Tower podcast. Also, Jeff Richardson does Shattered Worlds RPG, an RPG that he invented, and an arts and interview show called Everything is Awesome. You can find all of them by searching War for the Tower, Shattered Worlds, or Everything is Awesome on your podcatcher. This is an Unspoiled Network podcast. This is Some Spoiled, a song of ice and fire. 2. The co-host Switcheroo. The Rereading returned to Westeros, HBO Spoiler Edition, uncut, uncensored, and too hot for TV, bringing you the greatest hits from 1996. Call in with your requests now. In this episode, we are covering chapters 14 and 15, Arya and Tyrion, in which both of them go on a journey and don't get anywhere. And it sucks. Welcome to Some Spoiled.
Monsters are dangerous, and just now kings are dying like flies.
I am the king!
Fuck the king.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm Rashawn.
So, Rashawn and I were just casually discussing the overall vibe of this set of chapters. And I think you said something like you didn't know what was going on, or you didn't retain it. What was it that you said?
I was saying about not knowing what the fuck is going on in these chapters. Mainly whatever it is that Tyrion is up to.
Yeah. This is a lot of starting shit off in this chapter. And I mean, it's not that it's uneventful, even Arya's, but Arya's is such a build.
Yeah.
To something that we know is inevitable, this terrible thing. And it doesn't get resolved. There's just an escape, which does not feel like that is, good enough, because these people are on horseback and our people are escaping on their feet.
Yeah, so, and burrowing into a hole under the barn does not feel like the safe haven that maybe they thought it was going to be as they made a break for it. And I know that, like you said, a lot of this is setting up for stuff that's coming in the future, and I get that. But I will say this continuing of travelers coming across emptied, abandoned towns, villages, cities, that keeps coming up between the Daenerys chapter and the Jon chapter, and now we have Arya and her crew.
That's a good point. Arya's the third in a row.
And it is what it is doing for me is it is starting to set up this real sense of foreboding and just kind of general dis-ease, right? Nothing terrible has happened.
Do you mean unease? Because disease is I
guess
COVID. I guess is a disease the same as a virus? Guys, I don't know anything. Just straight up, I don't know anything. It's fine. You know what? Forget I asked.
I was going to say, I'm glad you interrupted me to tell me you were unsure about a thing.
Well, you said dis-ease, and I was like...
Did you know what I meant?
Yes. Well, that's the question, because disease means something.
So, it's setting up a lot of unease.
Okay.
I'm wondering if that is intentional. I feel like it's kind of gotta be. This sense that the whole realm, is in such upheaval right now, that there's no place that's safe, and that people everywhere, even though I understand the city where Daenerys ended up is not anywhere near where the wars are happening, and that they fled probably, I think you said the theories are, is probably a Dothraki horde got to them. Mm-hmm. But it's the same sort of thing, where just this feeling of like little people, small folk, whatever, are not safe, and people are like running for their lives and looking for like sanctuary, mm-hmm. and that our characters are out in this world that's so unsafe that people are running,
yeah,
everywhere looking for some place to be safe, and then our people are just wandering up and down the fucking road, or, mm-hmm. in north of the wall, out in the wilds with Jon, or, just roaming through the desert with Daenerys, and just kind of feeling like you want them to, like they're not safe, mm-hmm. It's, and I'm thinking it's got to be, like, built in, like, it's got to be intentional.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, though, because, like you said, like you pointed out that this is the third in a row with this theme, and I just didn't even put it into the same category because, the circumstances of each departure are so different. Mm-hmm. But that has to be purposeful that he does that 3 in a row like that. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, and the whole thing with Arya is so frustrating because she has some intuition where she's just like, we should not stay here. And she even says something which, she knows that she needs to not draw too much attention to herself. So when he doesn't immediately listen, she just leaves it alone. But clearly something was telling her, hey, how about you take the advice of the folks who came before you? And get the fuck out. Because clearly if people were ready to leave their homes, shit had gone badly wrong.
Right. And she's the first one to wake up and realize that the danger is approaching. Yep. Yeah, even though she just has like a dream that a wolf was howling. And I imagine, I don't know how much we're supposed to read into that, but that coupled with her sort of intuition that this is not a good place to camp for the night, I'm wondering if maybe there is a little something more to that. Even if it's just an example of her sort of heightened senses of her her surroundings. Yeah, she just seems more vigilant than some of the people in her party.
Yeah, I was getting a little bit irritated with Yoren. It just felt like, not that he puts a guard up and everything, but he is just so sure that he can be like, oh, this isn't our fight.
Yeah.
And that people will respect that. And it was, I understand the shit wasn't like this last time, dude, but we established that shit isn't normal. I thought. Pretty well.
Yeah, I thought we had as well. I also, the thing with Yoren, too, though, because he makes a point of being like, well, I feel safer when there are walls around me, right? And that's his whole reasoning about why they're going to camp out there that night. And it sounds like he's making a wise choice, right. Like your instinct is to be like, well, yeah, you want to hunker down somewhere that's got walls, that's got a gate, you can put a guard up, like that all makes perfect sense. However, that's only if you don't consider the other variables. Once you take into account that we're in the middle of this, war, there's fires literally 3 ways around them, and then there's this big ass lake that they can't cross, and what they've seen on their travels, right? They've seen the chapter starts with them finding a dead body. So you talk about foreboding, Jesus Christ. But
yeah, I think that's the biggest point. That you're right. There's no way for them to get out of here in the first place, even by the light of day. When there's no escape. And that is not a place that you want to spend the night and wind up with your back against a wall. Yikes.
Yeah, and he's his plan is to head towards Harrenhal. God bless them. They don't know what's waiting there. And it's really, there's a bittersweet moment when Arya thinks to herself that she can maybe present herself to Lady Went and get safe passage home. And you're just reading that line and you're like, oh no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But they're so far removed from the various machinations that are happening in King's Landing and who is declaring themselves king, and there's no way for them to know that Tywin is camped there, and that it's been given to fucking, who did he give it? Gave it to Slint, right?
Right, and it's basically, like, I think kind of up for grabs now.
I feel like it because Slint is basically, going to the wall, or did he get killed?
He got sent to the wall, and, like, Tyrion said, your family will be provided lands, but it sure won't be fucking Harrenhal.
Right.
Because that place is, like, considered, as much as it's, like, seen as cursed, it's also kind of an honor. It's sort of a weird...
I think in this show they gave it to the Mountain, or am I making that up? Didn't they give it to him?
I do not remember.
I can't remember. I feel like maybe that's what happened in the show anyway. But so yeah, they come up to this this little fucking empty ass town. There's no sign of people. But there's, like, all kinds of food that's been grown that they can, like, fill up their bags with. And you're thinking as you read it, or I was thinking, like, okay, yeah, stock up on provisions, get as much as you can fucking carry, and then get the fuck back on the road. But that's not what happens. And then, she wakes up from this dream of wolves howling, and it is are they Lannister men?
Yeah.
Right? And they are accusing Euron and them of being with Beric.
Right.
Even though that's not true. And we find out that they don't even fucking care. Like, Euron is like, no, we're Night's Watchmen. And first of all, they're like, oh, well, we can't tell. But then it becomes very clear that even if he could tell, they don't give a fucking fuck at all.
Yeah.
And it turns into, I don't even want to call it a battle because they're so outmatched. It's like a whole fucking horde of men against, this fucking brand
onslaught
of misfits.
Maybe that's better than battle.
And there's a minute where, okay, first of all, Arya is yelling Winterfell as she fights.
No.
What? That is not safe.
Yeah.
That is the opposite of safe.
Yep.
And I kept
front
waiting
of fucking Lannister people. Like,
I kept waiting for someone to say something about it, but it never happened. I guess everybody was preoccupied. Nobody had time to, like, reprimand her for doing that.
Pretty hectic, pretty quick. But
I feel like if they get out of this, somebody has got to be like, yo, what the fuck was that? She has a moment before she falls asleep where she's sharpening needle, and I don't know if it's hot pie or if it's salami, but one of them is like, where'd you get that sword from? And she starts to say how she got it from her brothers. And she thinks to herself, Euron would be really pissed that I should be keeping my mouth shut. But she can't help herself. She's like, yeah, I have lots of brothers, she says. And they taught me how to kill people, I think she said.
Yeah, I think that's what she says.
They taught me how to kill people who annoy me.
Bother me.
Yeah.
And he's just like, God, I was just asking. Ugh. And, honestly, it's not his fault. He isn't like, he doesn't know. I feel bad for him sometimes, because you do get the sense that they have gotten to a point where they are just trying to be friendly. Yeah. But she cannot afford that right now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, she can't afford that right now, but she's also out here just yelling her whole family, like, it's just, but, you know what, I guess, like, this is, this is a pretty intense moment for her. And, I mean, she's doing better than I would be doing in similar circumstances. So I feel like I had to be real careful with my judgment.
True. Yeah, we've already talked a little bit about how Arya and Sansa each wind up in a situation perfectly suited to their particular personalities. And a lot of people like to sort of shit on Sansa in favor of Arya because she's so much more of a badass. But I feel like in a lot of ways, Sansa winds up doing better than I might have done in her place once she starts to get her feet under her, especially better than I would have done at her age in her place.
Yeah.
So, what can you do?
Yeah. I really do like the way, too, that they work that in the story. I'll see what the books do, but how the qualities that when we first meet them at Winterfell, we find out what type of person Sansa is and what she values, and the same with Arya. And then to see those things that at first glance just seem like very childish, things that you don't want to take very seriously, become really integral to the characters as they grow. Like, that first introduction really is the foundation of who they become. And you find out later as you're reading that, these were they recognized the skill set that they each had and were able to build on it in their own ways. And I really like that, because you could have made Arya like a superhero, and just left Sansa being like a whiny, prissy court girl, right?
Right.
But that's not what happens. At least what I think happens.
Indeed. So, as you say, they gather all of this food. There's a garden that has cabbages and onions and stuff in it, and they are digging a bunch of things up. There's the river that has fish in it. There's a goose and some chickens running around. This is a really nice sort of restock. It feels like a moment in Skyrim where you're just finally able to put things in your inventory after a minute. And then I don't know. Have you seen this meme of when you have to heal during a boss fight, and it's a guy in the middle of a fight in some fast food place, and the staff are yelling at him and trying to pull him out from behind the counter, and he's eating a whole avocado that he just grabbed off the counter? All right. I sound like a fucking lunatic. I'm sorry, everybody. But I just kept, because I was in that headspace of oh, yeah, this is like Skyrim and you're getting your shit. And then it made me think of, if they had the cabbages with them during the fight and how it could have all gone so differently if they had just been able to get access to the cabbages and heal up and then get back into the fight. Where's the goose? God damn it. Where's the goose? I need it immediately. And this guy is, there's a dude who is catching fish with his bare hands. And for a second, I thought it was going to be Arya was impressed. But no, it's Arya thought it didn't look like they were as hard to catch as cats. At least fish don't even have claws.
Which is a valid observation, I think, and should not be poo-pooed away.
Agreed.
Yeah. Just putting that out there.
So, they, like you say, Yoren's we're just going to have some walls around us tonight. She does not have a good feeling about this. And as they, are looking around the place, they find this trap door that goes to a tunnel that lets out near the lake. And that winds up being the key for later on when everything goes to hell. And Yoren is telling all of them, you need to get out of here. And they're like, where? And they have to go into the barn, which has just been lit on fire. So not ideal. I don't know that I would have had the fucking balls, man. I'll be honest. Dying
to run
by
right
fire.
into a burning barn? Yeah. I mean, I guess it really becomes a matter of, like, what is worse, whatever's chasing you or what you're running towards.
Yeah.
I feel like, in this case, they are both equally horrible. And
That's
I
a
would
good point.
I would desperately want a third option. But I guess if they were, like, armed, you know, hoodlums.
Yeah, and she has seen what they're capable of doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, maybe faced with that, I would choose the fire, too, actually. I take it back. And there's a moment where the what do you call it? It's like the prison that's on wheels. What does one call that?
They have been referring to it as the wagon, but I don't know.
Is it just the wagon? I thought the wagon was the thing that just had their supplies, and then they were in another thing. But okay, yeah, maybe it's just the wagon. But yeah, Jack and Hagar, Biter, and Rorge are in there, and the place is burning down around their ears. Poor animals are trapped in here. A donkey and I think a couple of horses, and Arya just really feels for them, but there's nothing that she can do to get them out of there in time. Mm-hmm. And there's almost a moment where it seems like she might just leave these guys because, a reminder, it's on fire.
Right.
I couldn't even be mad at her were she to just leave them there.
I have to say, the whole time he is calling to her, there's like panic and horror and things are on fire, and yet as I read it, it was always very calm. Boy, good boy, sweet boy.
Excuse me. I don't know if anybody's, I don't want to bother you.
Right.
But it would be great if we could just get our checks and get out of here.
That's exactly how I read it, and it's got to be like leftover from the way it was, in the show or whatever.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't. It like he is not yelling and screaming this in like a frenzied way. Mm-hmm. He just isn't. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. He's just not. And like. That she goes and gets the axe and tosses it to them. That is, what is that?
Heroism.
Like, I mean, is that just complete like selflessness in the moment? Has she responded to him in a way? Or is it the way he's calling her that like, I'm just trying to. Because she has to go way back yonder to where the logs are being split.
Yeah.
To grab the axe and then make her way back over. I guess we're just supposed to know that is just what kind of person she is. Mm-hmm. Like like a.
She also like drags the crying girl.
Oh my God, that's right. Listen,
it would have been a lot faster if she just was like, you know what? I'm sorry, but bye.
First of all, I forgot all about this girl. And there was a couple of mentions of the crying girl, and I was just like, what are they talking about? And then when she has to drag her, and because when the fighting starts, this little girl just like plops down. Mm-hmm. And just like all this is happening around her, and she's just right in the middle crying, and no one is really paying her any attention. But she most certainly could have gotten hurt just by being in the way. And it's just, it's remarkable that she wasn't trampled.
Right, true.
And then Kendry has to end up like doing like a fireman's, what do you call that?
A fireman carry? Yeah, over her shoulder.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, she's doing the no man left behind thing. Except, she's a child. And I just can't help but wonder, again, if I were in her position as a child, would I have done this or just run for my life? And I have to say, I am pretty certain I'd have just run for my life. As an adult, I am also pretty certain I would have just run for my life. I don't love that about myself. I will examine it and I will face that. But I'm trying to be honest, as much as I want to be somebody who has a cool head and tries to do what's best for everybody in a moment of genuine, like, danger like this, I don't have a real clear idea how I would react. I don't think I've been in that sort of situation before.
I am not sure how I would react either. I suspect a couple of things about myself, but I don't know them to be true. I feel like I would probably just run, you know?
Yeah.
But you know what, though? In this circumstance, because we're talking about a stranger, practically, you know, if it was a loved one...
Oh, yeah, I'm not talking loved ones. I'm talking like George Costanza in
just
a
running out of fucking the kids' party and trampling over the children.
You know, like nobody you know, and maybe nobody ever knows about it even. Like there's no security cameras or whatever.
Oh, so it's just your secret shame?
Yeah. Like what do you do when nobody is watching and there's nobody you know that you would personally be grieving? That's the test. Man, that. You know, whenever I think everybody has probably heard this at some point because you know we lack imagination. Every time I have any kind of job training, new hire, this is what we look for in people, and these are the values we expect you to have. They always use the same example of what the definition of integrity is. And it's not the actual definition. It's what they always say is integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. So I feel like if no one is watching, that's it. That's the question. I genuinely am not sure. I want to be better, and I like to think that in the moment I would be like, this will haunt me for the rest of my life if I just leave them. And I will know that and do something. But I don't know that it would enter my mind, this will haunt you, until I was halfway down the stairs. And by then I am not turning around. Like, I don't know. I am curious, but I also would really love to never be put to the test at all. Ever. Please.
This is where I come down. Like, this is a question I don't have to have answered to have like a full, meaningful life.
Yeah, I feel like it's better not answered, maybe, depending. Yeah.
Because, sometimes you learn shit about yourself that you really didn't want to know, and then you can't unlearn it, and then, like, who needs that nonsense in their life?
I know that you haven't continued, like, the full watch of Community, but there is an episode where Chevy Chase's character pretends to be dying and does his bequeathing of all of his, like, earthly effects to his friends. And it's all meant to be this, like, complex sort of psychological manipulation that he's doing. And the thing that he does to the real bleeding heart liberal is he gives her a blank check telling her, you can write this out to as much as you like to any charity of your choice. And she's like, oh my God, thank you so much. And she takes that at face value. And then as she's walking out, he says, or you could just write a check to yourself. Nobody would know. And she spends the rest of the episode so, like, facing herself and realizing, if these cameras were not here, I would take the money. And now I have to know that about myself. And he did that on purpose. And, I had a friend who just moved into a new house and she found an envelope of $3,000 in a cupboard. And she came into this group and was like, what should I do? And to be fair, I know what I should do. But I want you to tell me that.
I want y'all to tell me why I don't have to do what I know I need to do.
And, eventually she got in touch with the person. But it was a moment of like, well, technically I bought the house and I bought everything in the house. And somebody had to be like, girl, if you sold your house and you had that money set aside for movers, come on, you would be so devastated. And she was like, ugh, fine.
I know I've told the story of finding like $5,000 at the hotel where I worked.
Oh my God, yeah.
With no cameras, like, and turned it in. Well, we didn't turn it in, but we were like, we're gonna wait and see if somebody calls looking for it. But it was cash. Like, the person who called, we could have just been like, yeah, no, nobody found it.
Yeah,
but it was
like
credit
card or something.
Yeah, it was all their traveling money, and like they were actually from overseas, and that would have sucked if they, didn't get their money back. They also didn't even like give us $10 as a thank you.
Oh, come on.
And I went through a period where I was always finding like lots of money. But not, like, if I find $20, that's one thing. But if you find, like, a lot of money, that's something somebody is going to be missing desperately. Mm-hmm. So, all the times when I worked waiting tables, people were always leaving money in the bathroom. Wallets with, just stuffed. Because I always worked places that were, like, after the bar, go get something to eat.
Oh,
so I would have tons of drunk customers, and people would just leave purses and wallets just filled with cash. Always turn them in because karma, really.
Yeah, really, that's it.
Yeah. And I will say, and then I will move on, I did have one time where I actually dropped, how long ago it was, I cashed my check. And remember they used to give you all your money in a little envelope, little white envelope?
Yeah.
I had one of those with my whole check in it, and I went to the mall and I dropped it in the parking lot from the bus stop to the front doors. And I was going to pay my cable bill while I was there, and I went to go pull out money out of my purse to pay the bill, and there's no money. And I go out the front door of the way I came in, and because there's like nothing for me to do but like go home. And some guy comes walking up to me and goes, "Did you drop this?" And it was my whole check.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm. So I was like, all those years of giving people their money back came back to bless me.
Mm-hmm. And like, look, maybe just because you think it'll happen to you one day is like a corrupted motivation, as they would say in the Good Place. But I really think that just, like, thinking how you want this to go for you is a good rule. It's the golden rule for a reason.
That I was going to say. That's, yeah. So, yeah, she fucking tosses the axe in.
Oh, my God. I completely forgot what we were talking about. Right. She tosses the axe in.
And makes her get away to the barn, and we hear that, it's clear that they get away. She can hear the sound of the axe on the chains, and then the creaking of when the whole wagon just sort of collapses underneath them as they're, like, hacking their way out.
Yeah.
And it's her, Gendry. Does Hot Pie make it to the barn?
Yeah. I'm trying to find the spot where we have, the list of everybody. Let's see. Yeah, Lami's gone. Lami's got...
Is he the one that got hurt in the leg?
Yeah, he got... And I don't know. I think that it's just Hot Pie who says Lami's gone, but I think he's trying to keep up. And it was right through his calf, so he's,
right.
Oh my God. Rough spot.
Hot Pie is like, fuck all of this.
Oh
fuck
my
all
God.
of y'all.
Amen.
he just
Amen, sir.
You know what? I had all this, like, trepidation and, like, I'm not sure what I would be and what I would do. Y'all, I'm Hot Pie. Why am I even fronting?
Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
I
forgot that she thinks about the hound's face. Do you remember this? A boy, called Jaqen Hagar, sweet boy. The open trap was only a few feet ahead, but the fire was spreading fast, consuming the old wood and dry straw faster than she would have believed. Arya remembered the hound's horrible burned face.
Oh.
And it's like interesting because the hound killed fucking was it Micken, the butcher's boy?
I just remember Butcher's Boy.
I think Micken's the forger's son, something like that. But you would think that that, like, wouldn't elicit the same kind of sympathy
I
would want, considering she hates him.
You would think that him coming to mind would make her be, like, less inclined.
Yeah.
But maybe, and this is really wild speculation. Maybe she thinks so little of the Hound, right? And he's so terrible that she doesn't think anyone else deserves such a fate. You know?
I see what you mean. Micah. Oh my God, I was going to die. Micah the Butcher's Boy, I think, right?
That sounds right.
Well, nobody tell me. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't, like, I sort of skated right over that the first time that I was reading this, because there's a lot happening. Mm-hmm. So, I love Jaqen saying, good, kind boys, and Rorge immediately following it up with, get these fucking chains off!
Yeah, if Jaqen isn't there, Jaqen is not there, then she does not go back to rescue them.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess kind words really do get you more, huh?
He says, Gendry tells her, I'd save the donkeys first. Ouch, bruh. All right.
God, there's a horrible moment, too, where she's talking about she can smell the donkeys on fire, and it's just like, oh, I hate it.
Yeah.
Just do not care for it.
Oh my God, and there's a dude who tries to stop her as she's getting the axe, and she brings the axe up between his legs.
She sure does. She sure does.
I do not have testes, and that still sounds like a bad nightmare.
She was right to do it.
Indeed. True. Oh my God, she never saw his face, only the dark blood seeping between the links of a hauberk. Going back into that barn was the hardest thing she ever did. And then she tosses it at them and manages to, like, run the rest of the way and jump into the hole where the trapdoor is. And, like, basically lands head first. And as she's crawling, there's this, like, whoomph. And she can feel the air following her because the barn clearly collapsed behind them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A dozen feet down the tunnel, she heard the sound. A cloud of hot smoke and black dust billowing up behind her, smelling of hell. Arya held her breath and kissed the mud on the floor of the tunnel and cried. For whom, she could not say. For you is fine.
I mean, why isn't that the first thing that she thinks of? I feel like that is completely justifiable.
She did see a lot of people die, and that is all well and good, but, you know, you get to cry for yourself, Argentina.
Oh, my God.
That didn't even really count as a joke. So, let's go on to Chapter 15, Tyrion. Tyrion is watching his sister throw an absolute fucking fit over something that she definitely did do.
I love her outrage. Mm-hmm. This outrage that she has is because, like, she is reacting to these terrible, terrible lies that are the absolute truth. And to be able, like, he's right when he says she should look into, like, mummery. Because to be able to, I don't think she's faking it.
No,
right?
absolutely
she
not.
Is absolutely outraged and and feels terribly insulted. Like, that's genuine.
Yeah.
Even though it's 100% the truth. Mm-hmm.
It's her truth, though. Nobody else is supposed to fucking come up in here and act like they know her like that.
It is astonishing. I don't know. I don't want to say it's like lack of awareness, but it's like this disconnect, you know, where she is really, like, feels affronted. Like, you know, how dare her, you know, and But it's true, though.
It's peak white woman right now. That is Cersei's whole, like, jam at the moment.
You guys. Cersei's like a Karen.
She is a Victoria's Secret Karen, except without the Victoria's Secret. She's did
got some
a
kind of
heinous
secret.
thing. She then gets caught and then freaks out about the fact that she got caught, acting as if that person is doing her some kind of,
God.
Yeah.
It is. Tyrion is watching all this, and he is just like, this bitch really is crazy. like, the fuck is wrong with my sister? But, so yeah, so they got Stannis' letter, and she wants to make sure that no letter reaches anyone, anywhere, under any circumstance. She wants this stopped before this rumor gets out into the world. And both Tyrion and Littlefinger are of the mind that, like, the best thing you can do with this type of situation is to ignore it. Mm-hmm. Because if you, like, start to protest too much, you just lend credence to it. Yeah. Now, I will tell you on a personal note, I have never been fond of that strategy. It's a smart way to go. I have been counseled to do that in my own life, especially as a child. You know, being told, like, if somebody is telling a lie on you, just ignore it. You know it's not the truth. Mm-hmm. That has never really sat well with me.
Yeah.
And I have made things worse by insisting on, correcting what I think is the wrong narrative. Mm-hmm. But to sit and let a lie stand in the hopes that by not feeding it, it will just go away, that is actually a lot harder to do than you think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is the kind of thing that it all, of course, depends on, like, what's at stake and what the lie actually is. Mm-hmm. And, like, look, it's not just them telling her, you can't correct anybody. You can't tell the truth, like the truth in quotes, obviously. Truth asterisk. You can't, they're not telling her she can't do that. They're just saying, hey, don't rip the tongues out of people caught repeating it. Like, so it's not necessarily the exact same approach. But pride, ego, I mean, those are my brand. I don't know how to let some shit slide. I mean, historically, I have, I think, proven that I can't and don't. And that is in personal stuff and professional stuff. So, yeah, I really feel you on that. It's... there's always the creeping feeling that people are going to assume it must have been true if I don't say anything. It'll have the opposite effect, and you're never really going to know for sure whether people believed it or not.
Right. Yeah. And she is not, like, really excited about this plan at all.
No.
She doesn't get into it until I think it's Baelish says, well, why don't we do something similar? Mm-hmm. And they decide to start a rumor of their own. And I don't think this made it into the show, or maybe it did, but they decide to suggest that Stannis' wife cheated on him with, first they were gonna make it, one of her brothers? An uncle. What did he call him? Castellan?
Yeah.
And then they're like, no, it would be even better if we make it Patchface.
Yeah.
Which,
right.
And then there's some comments about how unattractive Stannis' entire family is, quite frankly. His wife is unfortunate looking, his daughter, there's like a story about gargoyles, which was really cruel.
Yeah.
But it's also Peter Baelish, so, like, what?
And fucking Cersei's so delighted by it. She's like, oh, you bitch.
Yeah, she really is like, oh, looking at him like, oh, maybe me and you can be in cahoots after all. Maybe I haven't been giving you, maybe I've been underestimating you or not taking advantage of all you have to offer me. So I'm going to, like, keep an eye on you now. And
meanwhile, Tyrion's looking at him like, oh, yikes. You're pretty good. I have to be a little more worried than I thought.
Yeah, he's like, I'm also going to be keeping an eye on you. But, so this idea to, and the thing that they say about it, one of the things they remark about is, again, how much people dislike Stannis.
Yeah.
Right? And that people are going to be eager, because what really they're talking about is controlling, like, the story, right? Mm-hmm. And the people that are going to eat this up are mostly going to be smaller folk.
Right.
So
I love stupid people.
I
love being educated. They think that if you eat rabbit when you're pregnant, your kid's going to come out with floppy ears.
He really does say that, doesn't he? Mm-hmm. Like, oh man, that's really upsetting. So, I'm sorry, it just got me thrown off with that because, yikes.
I'm sorry.
Nah, it's been a minute since, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, this idea that if you can feed the common people who already don't like a ruler and are sort of, like, desperate for gossip, especially something that makes the people that are above them look small and depraved, something that they can really relish in. Mm-hmm. And it's true. Yeah. It really is a true thing about human beings.
Yeah.
It is something we do. And it's gross and terrible, and we all do it. And that they're going to use this as a way to kind of neuter Stannis, Mm-hmm. It's just, I don't know, it made me feel so, like, ugh.
Yeah.
100%.
Like,
just like really, like gross, but also somehow implicated, even though I was just minding my business reading this book. It was very strange.
Wait, you think appealing to the lowest common denominator with a completely invented lie in order to draw attention away from something that's absolutely true, despite the outrageousness of the claim, is despicable? I don't get it.
And yet so effective.
Yep.
Like,
this is Olivia Pope level.
I mean, like, yeah, really. Like,
I'm sorry. Did I do it again? I just throwing you off with my commentary tonight.
I don't know. Like, it was just like a little too close to home, considering where we have been as a country the last several years, and just, the kind of stuff that we respond to, and the way that how easily we're manipulated by these very same tactics that are being discussed here.
Yep.
It was too real for a second. That's all. It was just too real.
Yeah. So Cersei is Trump, and Stannis' whole story is a QAnon conspiracy, basically. They were a bunch of guys meeting up on a message board, some Discord somewhere, going, all right, what are we going to say this week? There's a pizza place that traffics in children and run by lizard people. Excellent. Yep. Put it in print. Get it out there. So, yeah, and Tyrion's like inner monologue with this whole thing. She says something like, I will not be called a whore. And he's like, well, they never said you got paid for it. So.
Oh my God. He has a couple of really good ones. A couple of really, really good ones. I had to read it twice. Like, wait, did he say that shit out loud? I'm like, oh wait, no, it's in italics. That was the inner thought. Okay, never mind. So she seems satisfied with this turn of events.
Yeah. I feel like it really appeals to her petty side as well.
It absolutely does. Like, she is relishing in getting ready to flip a truth about herself into a lie about someone else.
Completely.
And is just giddy. I think that's the word. Yeah, just delighted that this is going to go this way, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And she just has that sort of that righteousness that is usually only afforded to the innocent. But somehow she has managed to get some for herself.
Yep. God, yeah, that audacity.
Yeah, it is quite strong.
You mean the brand, the
audacity?
Yeah,
is very strong. The brand, all of that. She's
Cersei is the white woman of the series.
Well, I mean, yeah, so far.
The way that her behavior is just so on point with it. Deciding to create a lie to defend yourself from something true. Mm-hmm. And really having the, outrage over the true thing. Genuine outrage. Mm-hmm. But clapping her hands together in delight over doing the thing to somebody else. Oof.
Yeah.
Gross. Yeah.
But it's this moment she has of being in a position of power where she's able to flip the script like that, you know? Mm-hmm. Not everybody can do that.
True.
So she's up, it's like a white woman plus a certain amount of privilege that just, is all, mushed in together to make for one terrible
Voltron.
Person.
The Voltron of white women. So yeah, she's very satisfied by this, and then Tyrion is like, all right, well, I'm a bounce. And immediately she's like, where are you going? What are you doing?
She is all up in my man's business.
Yep.
And basically, you owe me an explanation. You know, I'm the queen regent. And he's like, I don't have to tell you. And then he ends up saying he's going to prepare a gift for Joffrey, a chain. Mm-hmm. And she's just like, but he's already got lots of gold chains. He's practically a rapper. He's got plenty of gold chains.
Can't believe you did that.
I had to do it. I'm sorry.
And, he, just basically, where is it? Oh, here it is. If you think for a moment you can buy Joff's love with gifts, Cersei, my God, you really don't know what the fuck is going on at all ever, do you? Does that seem like something this guy would try? She just doesn't. Yeah, whatever. So
I don't know, and I can't tell yet if she just doesn't know her brother very well because she just doesn't like him and has just never bothered to figure out anything about him, or is she just not very smart, or what exactly?
Los dos.
Why not both?
I find that people who are sort of incurious about those around them are often not very bright.
That's a fair point.
That
is a fair point.
And that's part of, empathy. And then say a real bad, dirty socialist word. So he takes his leave, and he meets up with Bronn, and he's heading out somewhere, but evidently, hasn't told Bronn where, because when they get there, Bronn's like, really?
Oh, before they head out, though, he has a bunch of people waiting to meet him in his chambers. He has all those Smiths that show up.
Oh, I completely forgot that the meeting I don't know why I had it, that he, meets them at the brothel in my head. I just read this. But yes, you are correct. Do you know anything about this?
No, I have no idea what's going on.
Okay. I couldn't remember if we had talked about it when we were discussing the TV show, and I just wanted you to remind me what I had mentioned.
No.
Okay.
I don't remember it yet. I mean, if later on something jogs my memory, it might come back. But right now, I have no idea what the fuck is going on. But he wants all of these iron workers to... He's got a bag filled with chains.
Mm-hmm.
And he dumps them out, and he's like, this is what I want you to do. And he wants everybody working on this and only this. And it turns out Cersei has already got everybody working on armor for, like, the war. And he has to convince them that his job is more important, even though she has threatened to crush their hands with anvils if they don't do it. So he has to be like, don't worry, I got it. Like, I'll take care of her. But yeah, I don't know what it is that he's having them do this for. And then there's one guy who's just like, sir, I don't know if you know, but I'm very talented. I'm highly regarded in my field. And I can't be working on... And I just picture him sort of waving his hand a little bit. This. He is really like, you know, like, and he's like, he's insulted, you know.
Yes.
Like, I'm a master craftsman and you want me to, yeah, no. And to which Tyrion has to be kind of like, well, either you do this or you can be in chains.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the gentleman decides. He makes his own
choice. Yes, make chains or wear them. Yeah, the links of the chain are super humongous. They're like, you know, big enough that he picks one up at a time, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, clearly this is not going to be something Joff's wearing. So, oh my god, I forgot too that he goes to change his clothes. And
we meet
Podrick.
Yeah, we do. He's like 12 years old here.
He's super young. Yeah.
Oh, he was never that young on the show. He was always like, you know, maybe
20.
Easily. Yeah.
Yeah. What's going on out there? Is that somebody at the McDonald's?
No, that's the TV from the
other okay. room. I thought somebody had their radio on, but the voice sounded so weird. I was like, is that like what is it? What's that band that does like kid versions of songs? Kids Bop?
Oh, right,
That's
right,
not
right.
A band. I guess it's just like a brand.
Yeah, it was like a band. What band is she talking about?
But it sounded, for some reason, I was hearing like Kids Bop music in that. Anyway, so yeah, they then head out, and it's a pretty long journey. Long enough for him to fall asleep on the way there, evidently. Mm-hmm. And he closes the curtains on the litter because he doesn't want to see the accusing faces of the small folk as he passes by. And I cannot say that I blame him. This is the equivalent of getting tinted windows as a celebrity or a politician or something.
He doesn't want I like he's like the way we're all looking at billionaires trying to go out into space.
Oh my god!
He doesn't want that energy. He doesn't. You know, and he's talking about the things he's trying to do to help the city as well, right? Trying to get food in, bringing in carpenters and all kinds of stuff. But still, you know, these people are poor. They're hungry. They're scared, and you're like bobbing through the city in your fancy fucking litter, which is I feel like there's got to be a better word for that than that, but that's just the word we have.
Palanquin?
No, I don't want that.
I think a palanquin's not technically the same thing anyway. Well, yeah, I think it's between animals, not carried by people. But maybe it's who cares? So he pulls up to a brothel, Chataya's, and Bronn is like, "Yo, really? Like
all this way?"
And
don't you have a perfectly good whore at home? Like, what are you doing?
He's over here pulling over to McDonald's, and Bronn is pointing at the bag of Wonder Bread, going, "Excuse me, here are the buns, and we have McDonald's at home." So Tyrion goes in, and it's clearly like his first time here.
Excuse me, it's a nice place too.
It's super nice. He basically tells Bronn, you are welcome to come in if you can afford it, but I doubt you're going to be interested in paying this kind of money, so there's some other places for your kind down the street.
For the poors.
Yeah, exactly. And he gets led in to see the girls by the madam, the owner of the place, Shachaya herself, who recommends to him the young, dark-skinned girl who's playing tiles by the window.
And is also her daughter.
Yes. And Tyrion's like, wait, is this a bit? There's got to be like a million porns out there that are like this. And she's like, oh no, where we're from, this is not. Like, this is very common to work in pleasure houses for the first couple of years that you come of age. And Tyrion's like, oh, damn.
She says something. Yeah, she's like, this is, how, like, what did she say? She says, the gods give us, hands to build the temples and something else to worship.
Voices to sing and worship.
Yeah. And then, and they, give us desires. And why wouldn't we mate and have sex as a way of worship? And he is just like, well, there's a God I can believe in.
Yep. So the girl leads him upstairs, and he begins to get agitated because he's got a boner. He started off with one, like, from the moment he came in the door. And then as they're walking down the hall, you just hear all the, like, sex noises coming through the walls and stuff. And he thinks to himself, this could get humiliating. At this point, had you realized that he was not here for this lady's charms?
I figured he wasn't there for her charms just because it wasn't making sense to me why he needed to go so far out. But I didn't... There was another thing, too. He makes a mention of the age of the girl. And when I found out how old she was, I was like, oh yeah, he's not banging this girl.
I think he says she's 16.
So I was just like, I don't know what he's doing, but I don't think it's that. Just because he made a point to, find out her age, and he has a little memory of how old, his whole trauma origin story, and thinking about how young he had been, and how young that girl had been. And I was just like, oh yeah, he's not here to have sex with this little girl. That's just not who this character is.
Yep. Yeah. So because when I was first reading it and he gets a boner and he's thinking this could be humiliating, I was like, is he worried that he's going to come too quick? What is he worried about getting humiliated about? And then, of course, rewatching it or rereading it, you're like, oh, right. This is, he's supposed to be all business right now. He walks in with a giant fucking tent in his pants. Like, where's the information? Pay no attention to that. But yes, indeed, that is what happens. He comes in and he's like, I'm not here for you. And she's like, yes, what you seek is in the wardrobe over there. And it turns out the wardrobe has a false back, and there is a tunnel that goes down to the street. And as it turns out, this was built because there was a hand who did not want to disgrace his wife, I guess. And so he came to the brothel, but he didn't want anyone to see him do it, and so they put this in. I don't know if that's meant to be John Aaron, or if there's if it's way older than that. I assume it's older.
I assumed it was older based on nothing. I just figured it was something that happened a long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't. It never even occurred to me that it might have been John Aaron. I think I don't know. I don't know enough about that character to be like it didn't feel right, but it just didn't feel right.
Yeah, fair.
And we
has a mosaic of women entwined in love, as it's written, on the floor. So I have to feel that this place took a minute to build, and it seems pretty established. So likely this all was put together long before John Aaron was around.
Right. I mention too that we get another kind of a trapdoor situation like we got in Arya's chapter. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's, just these sort of...
themes and themes. You're right. And put that together.
I don't know what Martin's trying to tell us. Beware traps. I don't know.
Everybody needs a fucking getaway is what I'm reading.
You know what, though? That is the God's honest fucking truth.
Hey, we had a whole Unsober episode about running away. It's clearly on our minds.
But, so yeah, he goes through the wardrobe, goes down the little tunnel, and who is waiting for him but one Varys? In one of his disguises, his very, decidedly masculine sort of butch look he's got going on. That Tyrion thinks is really funny. At one point, he's like, he doesn't smell like lavender tonight.
Yeah, it smells like beer and garlic, I think he says.
Yeah.
And even when he laughs, his laugh is different.
It
does make you wonder, like, is either of these the real Varys? Probably not.
I was thinking the same thing, because he talks so freely about how he needs a disguise when he's traveling through the town in this way. And I'm like, this is just another face that he puts on, just like the spider. Like, these are all masks that he wears to serve whatever purpose he needs at the moment, I mean, we didn't get a lot of different Varys in the show. I don't know if that's going to be different in the books, but I imagine that if it were necessary, he could probably be whoever the fuck he wanted to be, at any moment.
Yeah, that is something I was a little disappointed by in the show. Because this is like meant to be kind of impressive, and they don't really... They have him sneak, but not like this. Not taking on whole new personas.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am always a fan of when he gets to like stretch his legs and be a little bit different than the powdered and perfumed weirdo that he seems to be. I was going to say effeminate, but effeminate does not adequately describe the way that he is seen by people in the court, Like, it's some of what makes everybody so uncomfortable is definitely how effeminate he seems. But there's also, like, just a sort of air of, like, creepiness to him that I can't quite come up with a better word for. Do you know what I mean?
I think that one of the things that I always thought that people in court thought about him, because we even get a moment too, because he's not at the council meeting when at the beginning of the chapter when they're talking about the letter, and I think it's Pycelle who's like, I don't really trust him. I never trusted him. This air of him being untrustworthy just seems to just always be with him. Yeah, and it's this, people are uncomfortable around him because I think that they never feel sure about where they stand with him. And,
yeah, that's good.
And so every interaction feels almost awkward. And
because they don't know how much to say and how serious to take what he's telling them. All right.
And, and like, creepy isn't the best word, but I want to say I get what you mean, because there is something off-putting.
Unnerving,
off-putting, unpleasant, to be around someone where you don't know where you stand with them. But you have to deal with them, and he, I think, uses that to his advantage because he is so good at manipulating people.
Definitely.
So I think he uses people's discomfort around him to his advantage.
Yeah.
And it just leaves every interaction with you being kind of like, did I just get taken? Like this kind of,
Oh, God, yep. I thought that I really controlled that situation well, which makes me feel like it must be even worse than I thought.
Yeah.
The more confident I feel, maybe the better he's fucking tricked me. Of course, only people who have, like, awareness would realize that. And one of those people is Tyrion. But apparently, Cersei...
I was going to say, Cersei doesn't have any of these problems. She doesn't even think in that way. She probably thinks that he is, you know, not nearly the threat that he really is. I bet she just dismisses him without giving it two thoughts, you know? Yeah. Which is a real shame.
Yeah. I could see her being somebody who actually thinks she does know where she stands. Who's maybe even is just like, oh yeah, I've totally got control of Varys. He's my creature, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. She believes that. She 100% believes that. First of all, she believes she has everybody where she wants them, because that just seems to be how she gets down right now. You know, she probably thinks she has Tyrion where she needs him and where she wants him. I bet she does.
You probably think this song is about you, don't you? So, yeah, this meet, we don't know what it's for. The chapter just ends with him getting on this horse. He's draped in a huge cape.
Yeah, he's like, so that he will look like a child, and that no one will pay him any mind.
And, I shall saddle him for you. Okay, here it is. He accuses my brother and sister of incest. I wonder how he came by that suspicion. Perhaps he read a book and looked at the color of a bastard's hair, as Ned Stark and Jon Arryn did before him. Or perhaps someone whispered it in his ear. Someone like you, perchance? Am I suspected? It was not me. If it had been, would you admit it? No. But why should I betray a secret I've kept so long? It is one thing to deceive a king, and quite another to hide from the cricket in the rushes and the little bird in the chimney. Besides, the bastards were there for all to see. And there's some discussion about how he fathered 8, as far as he knows. And basically considered it like a really obvious open secret that if anybody had put 2 and 2 together, they would have seen right away, but nobody really seemed to, like, think of it.
Yeah, this is a part of me. This part here, I'm having. I don't want to say trouble, but okay, it is. It's a little bit of trouble. I'm trying to understand why we are to believe that no one has really been putting this together except Ned and Jon Arryn and apparently Varys. I mean, well, but you know what? That's not fair to say, because I think, like, Littlefinger probably knows. I guess what I'm wondering is, how did this go on for so long?
That's a whole different question. You
know, maybe that's what I'm stuck on, because I'm trying to imagine a world where, I guess it really depends on what I think of Robert Baratheon, right? In the little bit of time that we had to know him. Because I imagine to come out with something like this, we saw that Ned could barely bring himself to tell him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I wonder, like, he had to have known, right? Robert had to have known. Robert had to have known.
I don't know. It's sort of like, I feel like that question comes up, not even necessarily he had to know, but more like, what do you think he will do? And Ned seems to think that Robert would have a really violent reaction.
I would have wanted him to have a violent reaction, too.
Well, I don't even mean, like, want. I just mean that's what he would have expected were Robert to know.
So because he didn't
I feel like
reaction.
If he had a suspicion, he's not the kind of person to just sort of, like, pretend that's not happening and be in denial. I really just think he was so unhappy with Cersei that the fact that he was like, that there were children produced at all, he was just willing to leave it at that. Because as long as that, like, duty was fulfilled, he was not, she didn't want to sleep with him. And obviously he kind of wasn't interested in her really, except occasionally when she would put him off. But she says that never happened that often. So I could see him just being so disconnected from her that he never really stopped to consider it. He seems pretty self-absorbed. Yeah,
that's true.
You know?
That's true. And I guess if he doesn't have any enemies, you know, it appears that there's peace in the realm after the war and no one is out to, like, take his throne. There's not really much to be gained politically by exposing this and risking, you know, death for making such an accusation. So I guess it's just one of those things. Yeah.
And like Jon Arryn, it seems, was killed so that it would just stay undetected and there wouldn't be trouble made. And then, you know, you get somebody else who has a real conscience in there, and it just turns into a perfect storm. Because now enough people are figuring it out that it becomes a real problem, and it's no longer about just shutting one guy up.
Right. Yeah, but now you got Stannis sending in a fucking tweet around the world.
Right. It is like a tweet. Oh, God. There's even a bird. So, let's see. This is when Tyrion asks him, so was it you? Did you whisper? And, like, again, he suggests, was it Peter? Was it Littlefinger? And Varys just says, I didn't tell you anybody's name. I don't know what you could possibly even have brought him up for. What? And Lord Varys, sometimes I feel as though you are the best friend I have in King's Landing, and sometimes I feel you are my worst enemy. How odd. I think quite the same of you. And that is the end of the chapter. Yeah, Varys I just find really... He's like a super spy in an era where being a super spy was very different than what we think of as super spy now. I really do wonder how he isn't hand to hand.
He's
like,
definitely
training.
He's definitely a super spy.
Right?
Definitely. Yeah.
Like, I feel like he has to know some sort of martial art.
He can protect himself if things get a little tense. He definitely keeps a knife somewhere in one of his big sleeves. There's a knife in there.
I can't help but think that, like, he really takes advantage of seeming like he has no experience up until the last moment. Like, somebody will come at him really thinking that they have the size of him, and then, like a striking cobra, he just busts out some shit so fast that everybody's like, I don't even know what I saw. And then there's no witnesses.
That sounds 100% how it would go down.
I really think I painted a picture there. All right. Well, thank you guys all so much for listening. There is going to be a week where the episode will come out a little bit later than usual because I will be traveling. But it will be coming up. It will just not necessarily be going up on Friday, which is its usual day. So apologies on that. But I am going to be going to Florida for some wedding planning stuff. And hopefully it's fun.
Maybe going to brunch.
Rashawn? Guys, don't look that up. Don't look up Florida brunch, whatever you do.
Well, by the time this airs, it'll be late. They won't, it'll be old news by the time this airs.
Rashawn asked me if I knew what it was without telling me, and then said, I think you should just look it up. Because she's a really mean-spirited person who doesn't love me. So, I'm just trying to tell y'all I do love you, and I'm telling you not to look it up. All right, everybody, you know what? Real quick, I want to say 2 new patron names. We've got Caroline Porter and Emmanuel Rigoberto Cortez. That is a fucking awesome name. I just love the triple Spanish names. I feel like a Telemundo announcer when I say them with my Emmanuel Rigoberto Cortez. Oof, it's great. But Caroline, your name is nice too. Sorry, I didn't mean to completely overshadow you. Anyway, thank you both for becoming patrons, and I hope that y'all are enjoying the extra content and whatnot. There's the final episode of Loki aired today, so that will be going up for sale pretty shortly. And otherwise, I think that's everything. Anything you want to add, ma'am?
No, ma'am.
All right. Well, thank you all again, and we will see you next week with a new episode. Until then, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
Joffrey, Cersei, Walder Frey, Meryn Trant, Tywin Lannister.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.